Dan Morfitt, and with me tonight is Nina Gilligan and Jakeb Braden.
We are here.
Shall we do that thing with the glasses now? Oh, yes.
They've not got me on shot.
Oh, Jakeb, I'm sorry you've not got glasses. Right, let's look at another big story from today. It's a report by Amnesty International on the working conditions of migrant workers for the Qatar 2022 World Cup. Now, the organisation interviewed 234 contractors and landscapers and found that they all reported human rights abuses of one kind or another. Last week, Qatar was given 12 months to end migrant worker slavers, and otherwise they'll face a possible UN investigation. Now, around 90% of the Qatar population are migrant workers, with only 10% being citizens. Amnesty International conducted the interviews during 3 visits over the course of a year from February 2015. Now, the Supreme Committee of Qatar 2022 argued that many of the problems identified by the report have already been rectified before its publication. So the question is, will you be flying to the Middle East for the 2022 World Cup? Jakeb?
I will never fly to the Middle East.
What?
Well, as a gay man, I'll be not really welcomed with open arms, sadly.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Qatar...
it's just not just a migrant worker issue. There's a whole range of human rights abuses that Middle Eastern countries perpetrate against people, women, lesbian and gay people.
Women?
Yeah, I said women, yeah.
So the question is then, you're surely up for the Russia World Cup in 2018, because gay people are widely...
They are.
Oh, no, they're not.
And,
no, I'll just
the thing is that Brazil, we've been here before, Brazil, they tore down slums, they murdered homeless children, allegedly, because they didn't want people coming to Brazil and seeing little kids sleeping on the streets. Obviously, the people who are behind the World Cup really need to do a better job of organising it and a better job of who they allow to host it in terms of which countries, because, it's not really the best record of human rights. And
I like how you mentioned
workers,
Brazil there, because of course in just a few months' time we've got the Olympics in Rio. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and they're doing the same thing with that. They've murdered street children apparently because they don't want people doing that. They've moved whole areas and told them sorry.
Yeah, favelas got knocked down, but
pulling down your house, off you go. This is quite horrific, obviously, because these are poor people who need work. They're not there for a career opportunity. They're there because they need to feed their children and their families. And they're abusing that because they know that they'll say, well, for you, if you don't want to work, we've got 10 people who will.
And I think, from my understanding, from just what I was kind of trying to get from it, this kafala, is it the kafala system? The idea that each migrant worker, they're only allowed to work there if they're bonded to just one employer.
They're bonded to a family and stuff, but then they bring over thousands.
So they're bonded to one employer, aren't they? So that employer can hold their passport. They can stop them working with anybody.
Which is why the definition of slavery for them is quite harsh, because they do have a master.
Yeah.
And Qatar has said that the Amnesty report has already been acted on, but hundreds of workers have already died in making these stadiums in a country that's not known for its football prowess, brilliant league.
Aren't they having it in the winter?
They're having it. They might be having it in the winter. I don't think that's settled yet. But the original plan was having it in the summer when it's around 43 degrees Celsius.
I can't walk the length of myself in that.
Yeah,
and I don't kick a ball.
And I think their plans were to air condition the football grounds and air condition the pitch.
I hate to think what their definition of air condition would be. Probably people with fans,
Yeah. Small children with fans.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, are you surprised at this modern day slavery, and what can we do to fight it? Because in a way, aren't we endorsing it by going there and having a World Cup?
I think we are endorsing it. I think that is people should be literally voting with the feet. FIFA should be turning around saying we'll give you the bribe back.
Absolutely.
We're not going to hold an event where, when it's been built on the backs of, human rights abuses.
It's more evidence of the 1% controlling the economy. It's more evidence of big corporations doing what they like, when they like, because they've got money, as you said, they pay the right people, put money in the right direction, and nods are nodded and winks are winked. And,
but individuals and corporations doing that. But this is an entire nation. This is a nation state.
It's a nation that
you could, as a football supporter, refuse to go.
Exactly. That's what should happen.
You could take action, direct action, and not go.
But would you go to the World Cup as a woman? Would you think you'd be welcome there? Because
this, like, similar as you were saying, I don't think I'd feel that comfortable going to Qatar anyway. But would I go under those circumstances, knowing what we know? I'm not a huge football fan, and I know football brings out passions in people that I simply don't have. So for me, it'd be an easy decision.
But it would be a quite anemic celebration of the world's game if there's no gays allowed, women aren't very welcome, and there's no alcohol.
It's not going to be a party, is it?
No.
I've had better parties.
All in all, I think we should sort our kickabout out somewhere else because England might not get there anyway.
We've got quite a good pitch where I live, in a small town just out in Lancashire, that they'd be happy. They'd be happy. And Barbara behind the bar, she says she's never been abused. If anything, she's a bit on the bossy side.
And she wants a footballer. So that's it. FIFA 2022 is now sorted. We will be having it in Lancashire. Box scratchings all around. Now, according to the Royal College of Physicians, 1 in 20 family members are not informed that their loved one is about to die, even when a medic has recognised that the patient is nearing the end of their life. An end-of-life care audit team looked at the treatment of 9,000 patients at hospital trusts across England in 2015. In the majority of deaths reviewed, a DNR, do not resuscitate order, had been included in the patient's notes. But in 18% of those cases, those orders weren't discussed with the patient's family. Now, the report calls for all staff who have contact with dying patients, from doctors and nurses to porters and even catering staff, to be trained with how to speak to them in their last days. So communication seems to be the big problem here. Are we afraid to talk about death, Nina?
My mum isn't, because she's obsessed. But apart from my mum, I think most people are. It is it's a tricky subject, isn't it? You can see if you're in company, nobody is, sat around the dinner table particularly.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about your end of days.
Anyway, euthanasia. How do you know? It's a tricky subject, isn't it? But actually, in that, you sort of feel that these other experts, i.e. the medical profession, who know how to talk about it, and when the time comes that you maybe do lose somebody, you put your trust that somebody will be able to explain it to you in a way you understand. They're almost like in a parental role, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I'm quite surprised.
It's when you're most vulnerable.
Yeah, that it's not being talked about more openly in those situations. I assumed it would be.
Especially in the context from the article where many of these people are very seriously ill anyway. So, to be open and honest, death is a destination they're heading for quite soon. When my mum died, I was 21. I was rang up. She had cancer. She was in hospital, and they rang me up saying she's probably going to last a couple of hours. Get in now, and I went in. No drama. They said it to me in a very nice, respectful manner. I knew it was going to happen. I think better training is obviously the answer, which I've identified there, and really being more open and honest about it, because I think at the end of the day, people will appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I think they know deep down their loved one's going to die.
As a patient, you appreciate that as well, because you're like, there's that concept now of having a good death, isn't there?
Yeah. Not one surrounded by monitors.
Yeah, one that you feel like you've got a little bit of agency and a little bit of control.
Yeah, you've got destiny on your side rather than being almost forced into a hospital. I think with this, palliative care and the people that are working it, nurses and doctors and care workers, are in one of the toughest jobs, and they do such a great job. I think this report is really looking at the communication skills between those workers and maybe the loved ones of people in that palliative care and the people in care themselves, just almost not to be afraid and also not to hide something from them.
I think people need to know what to expect. I mean, my friend of mine, she's probably watching actually, she had an experience recently where she was in hospital and a patient in the next bed to her died. Now the family were basically, just cordoned off with their grief by a curtain, which ain't soundproof.
Yeah.
No. I think there needs to be a conversation about dignity at the end.
Dignity and privacy.
And privacy at the end. Not just, I mean, that wasn't specifically mentioned in this report, but not just about how we talk about it, but where we do that.
Yeah.
It's often very public.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, in how many of these homes are privately run? You know, what other training do the staff get? Because we know from experience that elderly people and old people's homes have been abused in certain private homes. You know, so if people
It's a very small percentage,
if
though,
people
we
are in
have
a
to say.
you know, if we're in a, you know, what other training is going on, like in respect of dignity, about how you manage a person's end of life in terms of helping them cope, but also the relatives cope, you know, by saying, you know, that your mum or your dad or your brother, whoever it is, has a week or a couple of days, and we need to prepare you for this.
And I imagine there's an issue of under-resourcing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Underpinning
I
this.
think though that this report actually just starts a conversation, obviously in the care industry, within palliative care, and within the last days of medicine that you can give to somebody, and says money's always needed. That's never going to be solved, because you'll always want more cash into the system. But I think this is just about the communication between people and, you know, just being a little bit more open. I think we're a bit of a closed society when it comes to talking about death, apart from my mum loves to chat about it.
It's like a really morbid Guess Who when she phones up.
It's the final taboo or fear, isn't
Yeah.
it, to talk about death? It's not something that you get around a dinner table and talk about. How would you like to go? Switzerland, please. One-way ticket.
Yeah.
Surely that would be a better thing if we did start
I've
talking
had
about it.
conversations with my parents about that, actually.
Because you're looking for a payoff, Mike. Right, it's time for another break now. Next, we'll be talking about the end of the local pub and bullying as well. All in a bit here on the Daily Rundown.